Are we good there, Lonnie? Thank you. If you want to go ahead and start it.
Beat you.
It is 6 o'clock. All indications are that we are live and showing online. Given that it's the 4th of July next week, and I'm going to quote just a couple of lines from Thomas Jefferson's. They asked him for the 50th anniversary. He wrote a little something for the 4th of July. And I had a trimmed version somewhere that I don't know where it is, so I just kind of quickly went through it. But may it be to the world what I believe it will be, to some part sooner, to others later, but finally to all, the signal of arousing men to burst the chains under which monkish ignorance and superstition has persuaded them to bind themselves and to assume the blessings and security of self-government. All eyes are open or opening to the rights of men. For ourselves, let the annual return of this day forever refresh our recollections of these rights and an undiminished devotion to them. I thought that was kind of a cool thing from the guy who wrote the Declaration of Independence, which for the record is what we will be celebrating the 250th year of next week. We didn't actually become a country for another 13 years after that, but Declaration of Independence is certainly what we celebrate. And with that, I would be honored if you would all please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Lonnie, can I get a roll call, please?
Westwood?
Here.
Battles?
Here.
Daniel?
Here.
Davis? Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Stupin? Yes.
All right, thank you. I will call attention for the benefit of the audience. And just a reminder to council, we have 5 members present tonight. One of our council members, Councilmember Davis, is out tonight, and we will certainly miss her. But from our standpoint, it still requires 4 yes votes to pass all resolutions and ordinances. So there is not a change there. But just a kind of a call, and I'll try to keep my count straight. And go from there. I will entertain a motion to adopt the agenda as presented.
I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
All right, I have a motion from Councilmember Ronnie.
I'll second.
And a second from Councilmember Daniels. I will call out that there is an item regarding a letter of intent and support on the Eagle's Nest. That is something we have not had on before, so it has that funky little double cross next to it, just to flag things that have not been through the processes as a dry run in the discussion part of the meeting. So, any other comments at the table? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battles?
Yep.
Daniel?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Stupin? Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of June 9th.
I move to approve the minutes of June 9th, 2026. I'll second.
Motion from Councilmember Ronning, second from Councilmember Tupin. Discussion at the table.
I have discussion. I'd like something added if everyone, doesn't have to be everyone, but most of you agree that on page 5, during the resolution to review and accept a donation of land for a walking trail, I asked Greg O'Neill a question, and I'd like to add it into the agenda. I asked him if there were any conditions on the route of the path once it got to city property, and he assured me that there were no, quote unquote, no conditions, and I'd like that in the record.
I have a motion to amend the minutes from Councilmember Root. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, a second from Councilmember Tupin. I agree that it'd be nice to be reflected in the minutes. Any other discussion at the table? All right, any other motions to amend? Hearing none, can I get a vote on the amendment, please?
Battle?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin? Yes.
All right, motion 5-0, motion passes. Moving back to the main motion, any further discussion? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battle?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
5-0, the motion passes, thank you. And good edit, thank you. I'll entertain a motions for warrants payable.
I move to approve warrants payable in the amount of $202,928.48.
A second?
Have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Tupin. Discussion at the table, preferably led by one of the folks that helped sign warrants this week.
Most of these were just trying to tie up some year-end expenses, I believe. There was a bond payment for stormwater in the amount of $117,101. There was some water expenses, there was some sewer expenses. $25,000 was spent out of water, $22,000 was spent out of sewer. And then library had some year-end expenses, and parks out of resort tax to for disc golf had like $9,000 for the new things that Mike talked about for the disc golf, the removable portable tee boxes.
Lonnie, did you have anything you want to call out or add?
No, these are just, more June invoices. We'll have more June invoices that will have to be put back into June, but in July.
Okay, so there will still be some stuff that we do in July that will still track to this year's
Correct.
year end.
Mhm.
Thank you for that. And for the public's awareness, a complete copy of those warrants is available in the hanging on the wall just around by the front desk there. The public is always welcome to look at those and reach out if you have any questions on those. Any further discussion at the table? Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battle?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin? Yes.
5-0, motion carries. Mayor's comments. We have two parts. I have some comments that I'll share, and then we have a presentation from the Resort Tax Board tonight that'll last 7 minutes.
I can make about them.
Yeah, trying to keep it light. So just a couple of things to call notice to. Wednesday, 24th, that's tomorrow at 9 a.m. The Pilot Tourism Committee is meeting. That is not a city meeting, but I know there's a public interest in that, so I would just share that information. Thursday, the 25th at 10 a.m. here. It's going to be down here, yep. And if not, it'll be upstairs, but I believe it's down here. The Urban Renewal Area Group is getting together and having a special meeting. The planner will be there, and they're just talking about some potential zoning requests and changes that they're going to make for to the Planning and Zoning Committee. That'll be again Thursday at 10. July 9th is the Municipal Summit in Columbus. There was a list that had a whole bunch of the dates of all the summer that I sent out, but I think we're about to the point that those are about all gone. There might be one more early part of next week, or it might, but anyway, that's July 9th in Columbus. They've also made recordings available for that, and we'll let folks know as they kind of do another batch a little bit later on. 4th of July week, next week, wow. The office will be closed on Thursday and Friday, which is the 2nd and 3rd, just so everyone's aware. So if you need to come in and take care of things with the city, please make time to do it on Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. Shakespeare in the Park is the 11th after the farmer's market, so that's 7-11. And then our next council meeting will be July 14th. By the way, I'm going to take just a moment. I normally mention this up front, and I apologize I did not. Make sure that my phone is on Do Not Disturb if we've got anybody in the audience, if you would take that opportunity also. So our next council meeting will be on July 14th. This is one of what we call the Ann's holidays. With I was waiting for Ann to jump in, because she always says that this is the blessed.
3 weeks off.
This is the blessed fifth Tuesday month.
Oh, it is.
That's good.
So, with the 4th of July coming up, just kind of a little bit of a construction update. We have several streets that are planning on being paved by Friday. There's a possibility it may move into Monday if we get weather, that counters with that. So that's most of them. And I actually have a list. We will have a list of all of the streets. A lot of times our projects have been coming in, our updates have been coming in by project, and a lot of people, they just know the road's torn up. They don't know what it is. So we'll have a complete list of those streets. But most of the streets are going to be done by Friday or Monday. There are some of the other streets, particularly on the north end of town, like Fifth, that goes across, and a couple of those that they're still doing work, but it'll be brought up to subgrade. The goal and expectation is that we will have no roads closed on the 4th of July. We do have the county signs that we have requested, and they have graciously allowed us to use for that weekend. And what we're actually doing is issuing a suspend work order on the 1st to our contractors, and then a resume work order on the 6th. That way it doesn't count against their contract dates or anything there, but recognizing that this is a big week for us, those are the plans. Call out that in the paper this week, there is a posting for the Urban Renewal Agency that's in the paper. There's also a posting for 2 at-large positions for the Montana Main Street Group. Most of the positions on that board are actually specified per the resolution, chamber, there's several different organizations that pick their own folks. We'll be bringing those for council to accept those. And then not on the list is an opening for the Sustainability Board. And just kind of an added comment on those open positions in general. A lot of times we've run those positions and then we don't get a response, and then a response comes in late, like a few weeks later. And so we end up having to go through the expense of running that through the paper again. So you will note going forward that all of our ads say these positions remain open until filled, and then we'll keep them posted online, but we won't necessarily have the responsibility to go ahead and run them in the paper multiple times without getting responses on it. One other thing that I would actually, I'm gonna save this to the end of the work session for future discussion. I had it in my notes to do it during mayor's comments, but I think it'll be more appropriate at the end. Just for council to be looking at, I anticipate there being a need to call a special meeting prior to our next meeting, particularly where our next meeting is out several weeks. So I'm either looking at Friday or Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday of next week to authorize the mayor to sign contract for interim legal services. I did not get those back in time to have them included on this weekend, but if folks would look at their schedules, and I guess we could either do a poll and get dates now, or we can do it at the end of the meeting. If council has I've raised them, we might as well do it and get it done with. Thoughts?
So you're saying this Friday or Monday or Tuesday?
If this Friday or the first part of next week. So sometime between Friday, and the reason I say Friday is because that gives us 2 days to post, even though it's just a special meeting with only a single agenda item. We still have to give public notice in 48 hours with the information out there. So it can be Friday or it can be the first part of next week. Let me start down here with Councilmember Daniels. Do you have a thought or preference?
Friday, if we do Friday, it has to be after 6.
After 6 in the evening, meaning does 6 work?
He's got to close.
I gotta close. 6:05.
6:30.
6:30. Well, I mean, I could probably, it depends who I'm closing with, but it's Friday.
Okay, so I'll make it 6:30. Councilmember Battles, you have a preference?
I would prefer Friday, and in the evening, that would be fine.
Preference for Friday, and it's okay if it's at 6:30. Councilmember Ronnie?
I'm available.
Councilmember Rude, do you have a preference or input?
It's Friday night.
Oh, my Lord.
Is that an answer?
Who wants to do this on Friday night? Or come, but I'm just saying, why not Monday or Tuesday? You know.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Friday night.
I have to work.
Cal-
I agree with Ann. No, frankly, I was hoping to take the day off on Friday, but I won't.
Okay, let's go back on the other, so you would prefer Monday?
Yes.
You would prefer Monday?
Yes.
Are you any happier with Monday?
If it's after like 5:30ish, I could do it.
Okay?
Yeah, Monday I'm clear.
So shall we go, let me double check and see what other meetings we have. Let me check the calendar really quickly. Monday, the 29th, oh, because that's next week, so let's go with Monday at 6?
Monday at 5:30 works for Patty too.
Yep, okay.
Let's do.
Or are we doing 6?
Let's do 6.
I said Monday at 6, and then most important, Lonnie, does that work for you? Can you make that work? All right, so we will plan on having a special council meeting on Monday.
Oh, no. It's fine.
Okay. All right. And we'll get the documentations and the public notice out then by Friday, so that everybody has time for that. So thank you. With that, what we'd like to do is I've scheduled, in Mayor's comments, to have the Resort Tax Committee give their budget presentation. So Tom, if you'd like to step forward, you have the floor and you can share your screen. We've got the screen in full mode, so everyone should be able to see it. And I just ask that you come a little bit closer to the mic for the speaking part, just so that everyone can hear you, because you're so soft-spoken.
I think I'm gonna get it figured out.
By the way, I will, I'm aware that this presentation was being worked on today. This presentation will be collected by staff, and we will get it posted to the website, so it'll be available to the public
Do you want me to share?
by end of day tomorrow. Pardon? That works.
Oh, look at that.
That's better.
Oh, no.
Good job.
So thank you very much. See? I would first like to recognize all of our Resort Tax Committee folks who are in the room. The entire committee is here. Chris and Joy and Rod, and then of course Jeremy and Jody is the council representative. So they have, we meet once a month, and which originally when we were formed, we were supposed to meet like twice a year. So it's been way more work than I think any of us ever anticipated. But I think that also has been positive. I think the Resort Tax Committee has definitely worked hard to work through a lot of issues. So I'm going to start out. I am going to try to do this fast at the mayor's request. But please ask me questions if you have them. If we get into the budget, that will take a little bit longer. But I promise to no more than 2 hours, so we are good. Sorry. So first, I just want to point out something. This is a chart. I have shown you this chart in the past, but it kind of tracks what the city takes in resort tax compared to what it takes in property tax. And you can see for about the first 20 years of the resort tax, we brought in about the same amount in property tax as we did in resort tax. Currently, we are basically bringing in now double the amount that we take in property tax and resort tax. And you can see that and some of this is as the resort tax goes up to the amount that we give back to property tax drops that down by a little bit as well. It's only 5% of the total resort tax, but it does affect our total property tax collections too. Or what the folks pay in property tax. So this also, the other reason for the increase is that we passed the infrastructure for the water and sewer project. So that was a 33% increase in the resort tax. We went from charging a 3% tax to a 4% tax, which results in a 33% increase in the resort tax. So now a quarter of our resort tax, going backwards, is for that infrastructure piece. So This is we do not have our April, April, May, June resort tax this year has not been reported. So this goes back to the last full 4 quarters that we have reported. And I'll just, you can see clearly that the largest amount of business happens in the summer. April, May, and June actually, because of June, is moving up. And June actually we've seen, from a business perspective, we've seen June in town increase significantly over the last 5 years. So that's kind of a post-COVID bump, but it also has to do with a lot more events and activities. We had songwriters this past week that brings in. We've got the archery group coming to the mountain next week. Unfortunately, we lost the Renaissance Festival, which actually was one of the bigger weekends of the summer, although many businesses reported not significant reductions in business without that group here. And then, where does the resort tax come from? What kind of businesses? So a few businesses have to pay all of their revenue is taxable, and a few businesses it's based on the item. So if you have a restaurant or a bar, anything you sell is taxable. If you have a grocery store, for example, only certain items are taxable. So restaurant and bar is the largest category, with liquor and convenience and grocery being next. We have divided up. Now we divide up hotel motel versus short-term rentals, so we can see how those, where that money comes in, where our business looks like. And you can see that both of those are significant and then retail for the total. Just wanted to point this out because it is significant. We've collected almost $2.5 million since the approval of that extra 1%. So that money goes to helping rip up our streets and make our community a mess during the summer. But in the end, it provides for much improvement. And as I'll talk about in a second, it really is the part of what folks want to see. So having this money for stormwater, so it's stormwater, the streets, sidewalks, curb and gutter above the stormwater is what's eligible. Primarily, we've been working on, Public Works has been working on actual stormwater and using other grant money, significant other grant money to go towards stormwater as well. So, and this project is, we can collect this money until the project is completed. Once the project's completed, it sunsets, and then we are eligible to vote on a new project. I'm not sure that it will be completed in anybody's lifetime now, but we'll continue working on it. I wanted to just point out, prior to 2020, our collections or our expenditures were really focused on water and sewer. And there was definitely a big push in the community to say they wanted to see more results from what the resort tax was spending. And obviously, when you're spending a lot on water and sewer, you don't necessarily see it. You feel it a little bit in your water and sewer bill, but you don't see those results. And so that was a big a part of the change, but also a big part of the change is we actually reduced what went to property tax relief. You're prepared to show this. I'm going to jump a slide, but we went from 79% of the resort tax going to actual projects to now 95% of the resort tax goes to projects. So that is a big shift in what that allows us. So that's also, as we saw those increases in resort tax, we're also seeing a lot more funding available for projects because the merchants gave up their 5%. We reduced the admin fee, which was 1%, and then we dropped the property tax relief down to 5%, which is the minimum that we're allowed to do it by state. I'll talk about this year's survey's results in a second, but the survey results from 2019 and the new survey results really aligned really, really well. We did not give the exact same survey, and I'm not sure if that's good or bad, but some of it wasn't relevant anymore, so we tried to tweak it. We also tried to make the survey easier and quicker, and I think maybe there's some indication that we should have asked a few more questions to get a little bit more detail, but really, streets and sidewalks, upgraded infrastructure, Stormwater was talked about a lot when we did the survey, and so that was definitely an issue. But tourism infrastructure and the pool, I want to come back to tourism infrastructure a little bit when we talk about the next one, but then snow plowing, water and sewer, and community services, fire and EMS, economic development. And then the other ones were lower, but not necessarily for nothing. But that's what you can see. Property tax relief was down on the list. People were really more interested in seeing improvements than they were property tax relief. They might have a different feeling now. We did not ask that question. So here are resort tax survey results from this time. Again, a kind of a condensed survey to try to make it easier. And we saw what we kind of expected, and what we saw in the first one is that streets and sidewalks are the highest priority. You know, but they're not the only priority. I think it's really good to say that, is that, you know, when you say, you know, parks and recreation is a 3.43 and streets and sidewalks is a 4.04, these are other things that are still priorities, and so we have to mesh that together. So people aren't saying only spend the money on streets and sidewalks, but they are saying they want to see money spent on streets and sidewalks, as well as street maintenance and snow plowing, parks, recreation and trails operation and maintenance. So that really ranked high. And then large capital improvements to parks, things like the tennis courts and the pool and things that really improve parks and usability ranked very high. Downtown infrastructure improvements, and the reason I'm pointing that out, and I just put on my business owner hat a little bit, that ranked high here and it ranked high in the original survey, but it does not show up very significantly in our expenditures. And so, you know, as we move forward, it is something for us as a committee to probably talk about a little bit. Fire protection capital items and large capital public works projects. Police protection was down at the bottom, but again, it's not negative. It's just lower on the priority list for folks. So where are we spending in these kind of buckets that we talked about? Lisa, can you get rid of the things?
I
can't.
tried.
Okay, that's fine. It's fine. I'll try to zoom in on this a little bit as I go through here, and I'll just talk about it. So tax relief is about 8.3%. So this is from the 2020, from the renewal. Water and sewer is 20%. So we're still putting more money to water and sewer. It's just kind of a decreasing amount. So you know, as we do these as the resort tax grows, we're not reducing the amount we're putting into water and sewer, but it's becoming a lower percentage as we move forward. Does that make sense? And then parks and recreation is 20%, about on par with what we're putting into water and sewer. Law enforcement is about 5%, and then there's some admin stuff. Mostly that is the vacation rental software that goes in there. So, and then the biggest piece is streets, snow plowing, and that is the stormwater improvement. Stormwater goes under the street, so then you put the street on top of the stormwater. The reason you have to have stormwater is because the street creates the runoff that you have to then put into the stormwater. If you had dirt streets, you would not need stormwater. Not recommended. How to save money. So you know, where the money has been going aligns very much with the projects that we have. So getting into actual budget requests, maybe I'll pause for a second. Any questions so far?
Yeah.
Go.
Question on the admin. I was under the impression that the STR software was being covered by the registration fees.
Not yet.
Thank you.
Yep. We tried to kind of simplify this a little bit, or I hope it's in the future that we'll simplify how I present this a little bit more. But how we come up with what you have to spend, it has to do with estimating what we expect in collections. And we do that by saying, hey, what did we get last year? And assuming we'll get that next year. We've been pretty on par with that. Usually it's going up. This year we're going to be about flat from the previous year to this year in resort tax revenue. A lot of that had to do with reductions in the revenue from the winter season. We get some money from interest, and then we get some money from pool fees, and then we have cash that carries over from the previous year. So we don't always spend everything, and we don't spend a significant amount, and so money carries over from the cash. So that comes up with the total available funds. And then I hope you guys are familiar. Then we have $600,000 that we say, hey, we might see increases in collections, and we say we can spend that, but those are offsetting, and they are not part of the budget. So if we collect more than we expect to collect, that will show up next year in added cash in the bank at the end of the year, or in the fund at the end of the year. Yeah, questions on that?
I'll just add a comment I think council's aware, but the public may not be aware. If we don't have it budgeted, we can't spend it. So if we don't take into account the potential of seeing a stellar year that comes out of nowhere, on the earlier slide, you may have noticed that there was a big dip in the property taxes one year. That was basically because we got a much higher than expected windfall, and because we hadn't budgeted for it, we had to basically give it back, and we didn't get to keep those resort taxes. And so what we try to do is allocate that for something like pay off the pool early, for instance. So it's nothing that we're dependent on from a budget standpoint.
We don't budget for it. We say we're going to get it. The budget
Well,
amount is the income.
we have to put a reason for what it's in there and put it into the budget. And so it is for a large
Then both sides.
Yeah.
pay things off. And so we don't do it if we don't collect it, but we have the ability to keep it if for some reason we should see it. And like the first year of COVID was a really good example. We all panicked and thought, oh no, what are we going to do? And it ended up being a boomer of a year from a resort tax standpoint.
Yeah. All right, so moving into the detailed budget thing, and I'll try to zoom in on this just to make it a little bit more visible. And the details of this are in the packet, and so you can see that as well. But this side of the budget is things that are generally reoccurring, and while they're not required, right, they are generally reoccurring expenses that reoccur every year. And that's 250 for water and sewer, 100 for water, 150 for sewer, and then streets operation maintenance, and pool operation and maintenance, as well as parks operation and maintenance. So those for the parks and the streets, there's a position, Willie's position, that is split between those, and then supplies and things for him to operate. So not that any of this can be cut, but it's generally a reoccurring pieces. And I think it's important to, right now, that's 78% of our anticipated collections. So it's a big piece of our collections. There's a new item on this at the request of the mayor and the admin, which is for fire protection, and that represents a 10% of the resort tax. And I know you guys have discussed that in other meetings, so I'm not going to go into any details on that. I believe you're very familiar with that at this point. And again, that's not a guaranteed thing at this point, but it is in the budget. Okay. And then so then we come on to what are really where the work happens in the resort tax committee, which is looking at what kinds of requests do we get and what we think will benefit the community and what we hear from input from the community. The ones at the top in blue are items that were budgeted and approved last year that didn't get spent. The cost share and the sidewalk repair is a mixture. It's actually $20,000 of last year and $50,000 of new funds, and I maybe could have displayed that better, but we believe there's $20,000 left this year and that there'd be $50,000 new. So those items were in last year's budget but did not get spent, so then they carry over. And that's what we've typically done with the budget. The best example is the vacuum truck that we ordered, and we ordered it, but it took a year and a half to actually get it, and so the funds were committed, but they weren't spent. So then parks projects is something that has been budgeted between 80 and 100,000. It had been classically 80. We upped it to 100 last year and pulled it back Mike's recommendation to 85 this year, and this is money that gives them some flexibility to make improvements to the park on a yearly basis. Generally, they don't spend all of that money, but it's in there to allow them that ability in the parks. And that includes parks and trails improvements. So, for example, any improvements to the new trail that they're hoping to do for the donated land would come out of that budget. Community entrance, this is an item that we've heard a lot about in the business community, and actually I've had like 7 people ask me about why the boulevards look so bad in the last 3 days, not even related to resort tax, just as conversational. You know, it is a big issue that we are not only growing not attractive weeds, but for the most part noxious weeds and cheatgrass as our entrance to our community. And I think for a community that really what we're selling, remember this is our resort tax is bringing in twice what our property tax brings in. And so it's important that we keep our house clean, right? So that we can continue to do this. And that is an element of keeping our house clean. We need to focus on that. And so I think that is really an important item, and I'm editorializing a little bit on that because I do believe it is important that we address that issue. The tennis courts, their request was originally for 200. They asked for an increase to 300, which we, as a resort tax committee, we were generally in favor of and continue to be in favor of, but it didn't work in our original budget. But if there was extra funds available, we said we would want to see that be at $300,000 with their request. So, Parks Master Plan for coal miners. I know you folks have discussed that in the past as well. The land acquisition was in there as a note last year, and I don't know what your future agenda item is, but really that's focused on being able to, if needed, provide some kind of a match if we need to for acquiring land like this. The police station preliminary architectural report was requested by the police chief to begin trying to make a plan for how to address deficiencies they believe in the police storage facilities, which the fire department vacated 20 years ago. So, so this is a new one too. It's the street completion fund. We have had some versions of this in the past in different wording. I think Mike has done a really good job of explaining what the purpose of this is. And the idea is if you're doing a water project, for example, on Park Avenue, and you're going to rip up half the street, and then you, instead of only repaving half the street, while you have all the resources there, you rip up the whole street and repave the whole street so you don't have to come back later. You can't do that with a lot of the grants and things that the water system provides. And so this money allows that for him to be able to have some flexibility to make street improvements when they will be the cheapest. That way, people won't always drive down the east side of Platt on the new pavement, even though it's half in the parking area. I've seen you all do it. So that, I think everyone's really in favor of that. Small sander and plow, the idea is that he has a vehicle and then you would put a plow and a small sander so that they can do some snow removal work in smaller areas and places without having to have the big trucks out. Gravel and rock screen, this was for so that when they do a project like this, sometimes they pull out material. And so if they can sift that material, then they can reuse it. So it actually, in the end, will pay for itself because they'll be able to reuse material that they're pulling out. For our parks position, Willie has been driving a older vehicle that's essentially worn out, and so this would fund a new vehicle that probably will last 10 or 15 years for him. We heard the mayor talk about traffic reader boards. The county does have some that we can that were purchased on a disaster and emergency services grant, Homeland Security grant, that they do let us use, but logistically it's challenging. The city has a lot of needs for them, and we've demonstrated the need, and so this would be to have city-owned reader boards, which I think would be very helpful for a lot of projects that are going on. And then the last one, this was kind of put in at the last minute, Safe Streets grant match on the idea that we might have a grant that would provide, I believe it's sidewalk.
It's an action plan for the whole city.
Okay.
For federal funds.
Okay.
For,
And
yeah.
this would provide a matching grant for it.
Yeah. And it would address sidewalks, trails, streets,
Yeah.
all of those.
All right. Questions on that? Yeah.
How many reader boards can you buy for?
Two.
Okay, thank
They're solar.
Yeah.
So,
Solar battery operated.
Yeah.
A little bit taller than the ones the county has.
Just because we gotta be a little bigger.
Yeah. The ones that the county have are actually just a little bit small, and so it will be nice. I think it'd be nice to have them a little wider, but. And then this is just a graph that provides kind of that breakdown in general funds where those funds would be going. This is just this budget year, which is why previously I provided the aggregate, because what happens is you may have one item peak in a year, and then you might not spend anything on that item, and then you do more as you do capital improvements. So, Mr. Mayor, can I ask if any of my resort tax committee colleagues have any comments they would like to make?
Hold on. Thank you. You're being a spokesperson.
I notice this resort tax fiscal year budget actually has what looks like to be the holdover projects into it as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. This is totally what you would budget for. So. Yeah. So that they would have been in last year and in this year. So this is what the total budget is. Okay.
And Lonnie, just a confirmation, do we actually budget holdover stuff again in this year against basically the cash balance?
Well, it has to show on both sides.
Okay.
So, and then we just make notes that when we spent is collected.
Yeah, thank you. It looks like you're done with your presentation. So I'm going to go to the table and see if there's any questions. In a moment, by the way, we're going to have public comment. That's the next item on the agenda. That's part of why we organize them in this order. But for now, I'm going to look to the table. I'll start down here. Councilmember Daniels, questions for Tom?
None that are coming to mind right now.
Councilmember Battles?
Nope, thanks for the presentation.
Councilmember Roney?
No, thank you.
Councilmember Reed?
I'm good, thank you.
Councilmember
It
Chapin?
did clear up a lot of things, thank you.
Okay, and just for the public's, just to kind of to round that out, this is not a final budget. This is the recommendation of a volunteer group of community members who put this together. I take that information as well as input that I've received from council, and I build a budget, and then council approves that budget along with everything else. So this is just the first element. And I'd like to thank Tom. This is a little bit earlier than we've normally done it. Normally we do this in July, which means we have all of the fourth quarter numbers. So we did a fine job of kind of adapting for the fact that we don't have all of our collections known for sure. Hopefully they're kind of close. All right, seeing that at the table, thank you very much, sir.
Yep.
Tom did indicate to me that he has another meeting, and so before he goes, I just want to ask if there are any questions that council would have of him in relation to action item B, which is the fire department boundary relocation. We've had that before, but just if there's any questions there, I wanted him to be able to address them.
I just had one quick question. Typically, when you have an alley and the city is looking at swapping the alley,
Okay.
do we have utilities in that alley that will have to
There
be
is
moved?
gas in that utility, in that alley,
Okay.
which we will move.
Perfect.
And then our hope is that we will find a way to improve that alley too. So,
Okay. That was my only question.
All right. Thank you.
and if you need something with that, I am going to cross the street, so I can run.
Yeah, I apologize for keeping you later than your other appointment, but send our sincere gratitude to them for their patience. So thank you. All right, with that, we are going to go ahead and switch to public comment. What I'm doing right now is playing with our cute little timer that comes up and says, you have 3 minutes be heard by the council. Again, this is not a public discussion or a Q&A, but it is your opportunity, one of your opportunities, to be heard by the council for anything that is within the city's purview. I will add that we always, we have a public comment at the beginning of the meeting. We'll also have a public comment at the end of the meeting. Additionally, for those who are not regular attendees during the action items, any of those action items, resolutions and ordinances, we will have a public comment specific to those action items. But this one and the one at the end of the meeting are for anything before the council, in the council's purview. With that, we'll go ahead and open up public comment. I'll look first to the room, as I always do. If you would please step to the front of the room. The rules are over on the right. Be respectful. State your name, where you reside. General area is fine. And address your comments here, and everybody else will eavesdrop.
Members of the council, Mayor Westwood. My name is Barb Beck. I'm here representing the tennis board, and we also have 3 other members of our board here, and all 3 coaches for the Red Lodge High School Rams tennis team. Just a couple of quick things on the resort tax ask. I'm not going to go back over the things we've inundated you with already. A couple of points. It's a one-time ask. So it would not be a recurring hit on the resort tax revenues. We'll be leveraging the resort tax monies approximately 3 to 1 for a project, raising the rest elsewhere. We feel we're consistent with public expectations as a result of the survey. And we also believe we'll be generating future resort tax revenues to come back into the community. And that's it. So thank you.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I'll get a chance at the end.
Okay.
All right.
No biggie.
Looking to anyone, and thank you, Barb.
Yeah.
I didn't write down your name, and I was having a space between where the neurons connect right there. Any other questions in the room? Seeing none, open it up for any questions online. Again, this is for anything in the council's purview. Looking for raised hands, microphones coming off, or cameras coming on. Calling for public comment twice. And 3 times, we'll go ahead and close public comment. And at that, I will exercise my option to bring the discussion back to the table. Councilmember Rood, did you have a question or comment you want to make?
Yeah, just Barb and everyone, just do you anticipate the increase in the resort tax ask, and what, I'm assuming prices are going up, and what can you get more details about that?
Sure. So I think we've had several increases in the estimates from the engineers. We feel pretty comfortable where we are now, just over $1 million, and we're pretty close to that. So the $200,000 would be fabulous if you go ahead and approve that for us. The additional would probably get us pretty close to right at the line. The unknown is if the engineer's estimate is totally accurate. And you don't know that until you go out for bids. So we'll be going out for bids hopefully within a month. And when we get that back, we'll know exactly where we are. And also Land and Water Conservation Fund is considering giving us an additional $100,000. And if you did as well, that would put us at that mark.
Okay, great.
Yep.
May I ask a clarifying question? You said you're planning on going out to bid for a month, or going out for bids within a month?
Uh-huh.
Are you talking about within a month of budget or within a month of currently?
A month of currently.
Okay.
Just so we wouldn't award, obviously.
Right. I'm going to say, because one of the things we need to do is that City Council still needs to approve the use of that land and that park for that. So, all right. That wasn't all your 3 minutes, but hey,
Okay.
that's what it sounds like when you've gone long. All right. Any other comments at the table? All right, hearing none, we'll go ahead and close that and move on to action items.
Did you do online?
I did online, and I did once, twice, 3 times, and after it was closed, then I brought it back to the table.
Sorry.
It's all right. I do not take offense.
I'm used to people
No, I do not take offense
Okay.
at people checking me and helping make sure I'm not the weak link in the conversation. I'm okay with that. The first thing I would like to do is I would like to seek council's, with consent of council, is kind of how it reads in our thing. The library trustee board has 2 positions that they have advertised for. And the way this works is kind of like the Main Street board, many of the positions next week, where they do the designation, and what we do is accept their appointments. So we've got 2 appointments that they have asked for me to accept with council's consent. The first one is Colleen Harrington. This would be a new term for her. She will start July 1st, and it will be a 5-year term, so that goes through June 30th of 2031. That letter of interest is in your packets. You've had a chance to review that. The second appointment is Martha Brown, and that's to fill a vacant seat. And so much like if a council member leaves and we have to backfill, it's just for the remainder of that term. So that seat would serve from July 2026 through 2028, and that keeps their board rotating out at intervals. So I would happily accept a motion to approve the mayor accepting the...
I'll move to approve, sorry I didn't let you finish.
I'll second. No.
Okay. I have a motion from Councilmember Root and a second from Councilmember Tupin to accept the library board's request for appointees. Any discussion at the table?
We discussed this at one of the prior meetings that I had attended, and I've served with Colleen on there, and she's wonderful, and I think Martha will be a great addition.
I concur.
All right. Any other discussion at the table? Councilmember Root, was that a hand?
No, I'm grabbing my glasses.
Okay. All right. And again, this is not a resolution or an ordinance, so with that, can I go ahead and get a vote, please?
Battles?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin? Yes.
5-0, the motion passes. Thank you. I will entertain a motion for resolution 3744.
Oh, it's over there.
I move to approve resolution number 3744, a resolution to vacate the full width of the alley adjacent to the east boundary of tract 27. Amended cost 2226, amended, and the west boundary of tract A cost 2226, and vacate full width alley adjacent to the south boundary of tract 27, amended, cost 2226, amended. The north boundary of cost 1571, and the west boundary of tract A cost 2226, in block 84 of the Red Lodge original town site on the city of Red Lodge, Montana.
I'll second.
Could you second the full motion, please? No, I'm just kidding.
I know.
So for those in the audience, if you're wondering why it was taking a minute to get to a motion, when we do the motion, it actually goes with the full title. So nobody memorized that. They wanted to have a copy of that in front of them. So I have a motion from Councilmember Daniels, a second from Councilmember Tupin. Discussion at the table before we go to public comment. All right, so that the public comment is aware, and there is a map inside. There's basically a 3-property triangulation move to accommodate the fire department to build to the north. There are several advantages that they have presented to the council in the past as far as access to the roads. So what happens is they are taking that land, which is owned by a private property owner. The private property owner is taking possession of what is now the alley, and then land that is currently the fire department's is being donated to the city or included in the swap and becomes a new alley that's just a little bit further to the west than the current alley. So like I said, all the pieces just kind of rotate in a triangle to do that. Any other further discussion at the table?
Just in regards to any utilities that might be underneath that alley, I just want clarification that the city will not be responsible for moving any of those.
That is correct. There is a discussion that is in the URD area. So there is a possibility that they may come and request URD funds, or it's an eligible expense that they could ask for. But at this point, that is all considered their construction cost.
Okay.
I don't. I'm trying to think if there's some place that could be added in there for wording. But we do have, Tom was here earlier and clarified that they are planning on covering that expense. So
Okay.
that is not part of this transaction.
Okay.
And it is acknowledged that there are utilities there. Did I understand the question all right?
Yes, I mean, if they find out that there's a sewer line that goes underneath there and we have to move sewer lines, then that's what's gonna be a lot more expensive than moving the gas line.
Well, they know what utilities are down there and they are aware that there could be surprises.
You say
Say
that.
that.
Yeah. Well, but I think they've identified all of them. So
I would be.
meaning I think all of them are there, not that they've identified
Where they are.
all the ones that are there. I think they've identified that everything is there and is gonna have to be handled.
Okay. You just don't want all of a sudden the city to get a $500,000 bill because we have to move a sewer line.
They understand that we will not be,
Or,
we will not be taking
Okay,
that, so.
thank you.
All right. Any other discussion at the table? All right, hearing none, we will go to public comment. And again, this is public comment specific to resolution number 3744, that's the short name. And we'll go ahead and open public comment. Looking in the room. Seeing no action in the room, I'm looking for online for hands, unmuted mics, microphones coming on. Calling for public comment relating to resolution 3744 twice. Public comment 3 times. We'll go ahead and close public comment, bring discussion back to the table. Any further discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Battles?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes,
Rude?
Yes,
Tupin? Yes.
5-0, the motion carries. I will entertain a motion for ordinance 973, public hearing, first reading, whoever makes that motion.
okay. I move to approve ordinance number 973, first amended public hearing, an ordinance of the city of Red Lodge, Montana to update section 4.1.16 solid waste of the Public Health and Safety Red Lodge City Municipal Code.
Lana, are you okay with the order traverse there? We're good?
Yeah.
All right. I have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Daniels. Discussion at the table.
Okay, so the main thing is that everyone, I kind of had an issue with section O here, and I had made an attempt to fix that, but Jeremy actually had better wording. So we, I moved to, and everyone should have a copy of that in front of them. So, I moved to scratch section O in this, and rewrite it to read section O, an accessory dwelling unit used for personal use, used exclusively for personal use by the property owner and not used as a short-term or long-term rental at any point during the calendar year may opt out of the required additional bear-resistant container. A certification must be filed with the city of Red Lodge that the above requirements shall be followed to utilize this option.
I have a motion to amend.
Second.
Motion to amend section O from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Battles. Discussion at the table regarding the motion to amend.
Okay.
Hearing none, let's get a roll call on the motion to amend, please.
Battles?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Rude?
yes.
Tupin? Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
5-0, motion to amend carries. Back to the main motion. Any further discussion at the table before we go to public comment? All right, this is an ordinance, which means it will come up before council twice, with public hearings and opportunity for community, to comment. So with that, we'll open up public hearing on ordinance 973, first amended. Looking in the room? Looking online? Calling for public comment twice? Calling for public comment 3 times? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment. Bring it back to the table, further discussion before a vote. Hearing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battles?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Browning?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin? Yes.
All right, 5-0, the motion carries. And again, just a reminder to the public that it will need to go through a read twice before it's there.
Oh, I get another chance.
I'd like to request that the committee make, those changes so that the copy we put in the copy is a single that reflects it.
I will.
And let me ask council, is council okay if we get rid of the strikeouts for reference and just have what is in essence a clean copy?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
So if you'll get that clean copy, to Lonnie in plenty of time for the next meeting, we'll go from there.
Not the next meeting.
At the next meeting.
No, because that's next Monday.
Well, at the next regularly scheduled council meeting. Yes, that's a good point, because there does have to be 15 days in between first and second readings on an ordinance, at least. So, yeah, that one will not be at the next meeting. All right, I will entertain a motion for ordinance number 960, second amended.
I will make a motion to approve an ordinance, ordinance 960, second amended, an ordinance of the city of Red Lodge, Montana, to repeal and replace ordinance 928 and 928A 151 amendment, in the municipal code pertaining to event permits and regulations for the use of city-owned property as governed in Title 8, Chapter 8, use of city-owned property.
I have a motion from Councilmember
I'll
Tupin.
second.
And a second from Councilmember Rude. Discussion at the table before we go to public comment, please.
We did make an adjustment to section 3/8, all in a row. Insurance, and we did include the authority may waive the insurance requirement if the nature of the event is adequately covered by the city's insurance policy. And then there was also certificate of insurance. The applicant permit shall immediately and automatically be revoked if such insurance coverage is invalid. I think this is covered at this point. Is there any other questions, comments, thoughts, or concerns?
No.
Okay.
Any further discussion at the table before I go to public comment? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open public comment specific to ordinance number 960, second amended. Looking in the room? Seeing nothing, going to online? Looking for raised hands, unmuted mics, cameras. Second call for public comment. And just to make it official 3 times. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close public comment, brief discussion, back to the table. Any further discussion at the table before a roll call? Seeing none, can I get a roll call, please?
Battle?
Yep.
Daniel?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes,
Tupin? Yes.
5-0,
thank you for
motion,
doing that.
pardon?
I said nothing.
I heard something.
I said thank you
Oh,
Yeah.
to Chelsea and,
She was being polite.
all right.
We were having pleasantries over here.
5-0, the motion carries. I will entertain a motion for resolution 3745.
I move to approve resolution number 3745, a resolution of intent to acquire and demolish flood-prone structures on 2 properties known as the Eagle's Nest.
I will second.
All right, I have a motion from Councilmember Ronning, a second from Councilmember Tupin. I will do this,
No.
I'm sorry,
Daniels.
Councilmember Daniels?
Yep.
Thank you. And I will do a brief introduction as this is something coming in. So there's a couple of things in here that I want to call your attention to. The deadline occurs before our next meeting. Is when we found out the deadline, it was close enough that it was like, ooh, I've got to get that on the next agenda. There is not an obligation at this point until such fact, there's not an obligation until we accept an award. However, what they want to see when they are making an award is that council is on board and we realize that they're only paying 75%. You will note in there is also a letter with the property owner. There was one conversation, we've been talking about the need to potentially accept 75%. What I have told the individual in conversations is basically the same conversation that I had with the property owners of the Rocky Fork. We will pursue additional funding options through the state and other sources, but the federal limit is 75%, and there will not be any local money spent on the acquisition at all. So we will not spend, and again, the logic from my seat was I cannot picture any version of a conversation where I say one entity damaged by the flood is reimbursed by local taxes and another is not because there was just a whole lot of them out there. There may be local monies that we need to spend if we are not able to get state funding for when it comes to the demolition. We could be responsible for up to 25% of the cost of demolition if we're not able to get those fundings. We'll have that conversation when we get there. By way of information, timeline, I expect that what we would learn is at the first half of next year, we would learn that we made the short list, and it would be the end of next year before we found out if we'd been awarded. And at that point, we would accommodate for that in our budget as needed in next year's budget, but no need to address it in this year's budget.
So, that's what the 100,000 was for.
No, that is not what the 100,000 is for. The 100,000 was actually set aside initially for a potential to open to acquire some property that we could put a restroom on, or there was a parking lot down at the south end of town that we had put in there initially. There was a possibility of we were going to acquire that. So the 100,000 is not related to the Eagle's Nest.
I'm sorry, I was confused because that's what we had talked about at the resort tax meeting, was that the possibility that we would need it for a match to help tear down.
We could use it for demolition,
okay.
but it would not be for property acquisition. That's the clarification I want to make.
Okay.
Anyway, you will note that in there that there was a letter based on, there was one conversation where I said I didn't remember the 75% thing, and so I had our planner write up the letter that you see in there that acknowledges that, so now we have it in writing, so there won't be a memory lapse. Okay. Any discussion at the table before we go to public comment? All right, hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and open public comment. This is public comment specific to resolution number 3745.
Hope Smith, Red Lodge. The resident letter of support, is that something that residents will be asked to do, and that will help then us to receive more money from grants? I know you can't answer that question.
Okay. All right. Thank you. When we bring it back to the table, I will address that. Any other public comment from the room? Seeing none, looking for online. Going twice. And the third call for public comment related to a resolution of intent to acquire and demolish. Something we would all love to see gone.
I mean, I don't think we need to
Oh,
pay.
well, there's public comment, so.
Sorry.
Hearing none, I will bring the conversation back to the table. I will first exercise my right to address. Thank you. There is in the packet a resident letter of support that they have filled out. There will be copies of this at the front desk. We are reaching out to several different entities to have them write letters that are a little less formed so that we can do letters of support to include with our application. And thank you for calling out that I failed to mention this. Anybody who is interested throughout the community, we would love to have you take just a moment and fill this out. And there's some little check boxes and say, yep, I think it'd be a good thing if the Eagle's Nest was gone. So we will take any and all of those, and there will be copies of this at the front desk that you can stop and fill out as well. Or you can print the one out from your packet online and print it out and just bring it in. And if you leave those at the front desk, I will add that the deadline is, I want to say the 9th of July. So if you could get that done before the end of the first week of July, then we can include those in our submission packet. Councilmember Tupin.
Is there a link for that we can share?
Yeah.
Because I bet if we share that, we won't have any problem.
I think, so the answer is yes, it's called the council packet, but we can offer it as a standalone.
That would be better.
Make it easier,
Yeah.
so we can click it.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like, please look at page.
Yeah, please look at page, the print
Lonnie,
that page.
Lonnie, can you make a note? Let's get that added to the current projects.
Thank you, Lonnie.
If we just go to current projects and just have a link that just says, resident letter of support for making the Eagle Nest go bye-bye.
Yeah, no, get the QR.
Do different wording. Councilmember Daniels.
So this is for the Eagle's Nest. Is it also including?
The McCampbell's house, yes.
Yeah.
So what happens is, and then one of the things that the changes of the draft, you notice it says 2 properties with
Yep.
structures.
Yes.
That is the 2 properties
Okay.
rather than 2 buildings. So for those that may not be aware, what happens is the owner of the rest of the Eagles Nest currently has a contract and is making payments on the McCampbell house, which is the little blue house that is there. He is aware that that must be paid for before he is allowed to include that in grant. So basically what would happen again is he would write a check and pay off his obligation there and then get reimbursed from the federal side for the property that he now owns. But he is the one who has legal title to that land with a lien. Any further discussions at the table? May I get a roll call, please?
Battles?
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Ronnie?
Yes.
Rude?
Yes.
Tupin?
Yes.
5-0. The motion carries, and I will get that executed and signed, and we'll make sure we get that packet in, and we'll keep our fingers crossed. As noted in, there's actually two different sources of funding we're going for. We're going for BRIC and FEMA. So one of them is the same one that we used to acquire the Rocky Fork, and then there's also an additional source that we're going for.
Would you be so
I'd like
kind
to think that it's better than 50-50, but I'll let you know when it comes in.
could you please tell me again what BRIC stands for?
Yeah, see if I can remember that. Better Resiliency Infrastructure Community, maybe?
Okay, all right,
Something like that.
thank you.
If not, I could Google it up and follow up with you
That's the
afterwards.
idea, I just couldn't get it.
Can I just ask one quick question?
You absolutely can.
With the FEMA funding, we cannot build anything there, correct?
Yes, if we get the BRIC funding, there's actually caveats we're learning, so there cannot be anything with walls, and they have to approve what goes there. The one exception is restrooms are allowed.
Okay.
So we could put a public restroom there, even though it would have to be built up so that it's above the floodplain. Building resistant infrastructure and communities.
So,
Because I knew Ann was going to ask, so I just had it in my notes.
So I just,
Sorry,
do we know
Councilmember
yet, I know that FEMA has been working on remapping everything. Do we have an idea when that will be done? Especially in relation to-
Theoretically, the new floodplain maps are slated to be out this year. We did receive word that they were concerned about their funding.
Okay.
And so there was a possibility it would not be completed this year, but we don't have final word on
So
that
we
yet.
don't actually know if all of that will be in the floodway?
The clarification for that is, at this moment, it is all according to the 1984 maps that are the most current maps that are there. There is a clause that says, best information available. So, but right now, the map that is the map that is.
Okay. I guess I thought that some of the stuff up front was not in the floodway. It was all in the special flood hazard area,
It's
like the
because
100-year.
some of
But
it,
it wasn't all.
it is completely eligible for the project. They deemed that it's eligible in the
Okay.
project because a
That was
portion
my
of it
question.
is.
Thank you.
Did I understand the question?
Yes, I just didn't know if it wasn't all in the floodway, if that's still because we're taking the money, if
Yep.
it's still making it so we can't build, like in the front.
It, as a condition of that source of funding, that's one of the
Okay.
choices.
Thank you.
We will gladly accept their conditions.
Yes, I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
All right. And we did already do a vote on that, correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. With that, we'll go ahead and close the action portion of our meeting. The next part we move into for the public's awareness is council is a work session, and this gives the standing committees an opportunity to bring the rest of the council as well as the public up to speed on things they are working with and things that we will anticipate seeing on the agenda in the future. We will start out with public health and safety, and with that, we will go to Committee Chair Daniels for an update.
Cool. Yeah, we had a nice little chat. Our main concern we kind of went over is signage, especially for Oak Street and Dillard, concerning the Boys and Girls Club and making sure that people are aware, just trying to troubleshoot that. Another thing that was brought to our attention was parking on Main Street, and not tourist parking, but like business owner parking. and taking up parking spots. And we weren't really sure if that was a health and safety, public works, business alliance, so it was brought up at our meeting, but we thought we would address it here to see if someone else wanted to take the rein on that one and see.
What's the concern?
There's been notice that some of these businesses are using their area, and not necessarily in front of their building, but they are parking on Main Street, so to advertise if their vehicle has their name on it. The trolley was brought up, being parked on Main Street. I know there is a 4-hour ordinance, so we're not sure.
There is a 4-hour parking ordinance, and I know that whenever I've worked downtown, my employees were not, but it's public parking, so you can't stop people from parking there, but they have to move their vehicle every 4 hours.
Well, and so the question that came up is, does council want to entertain an option that says you can stop there? Because that is within council's purview to pass an ordinance of some sort. And so that's the question, is council interested in entertaining, and if so, which group?
Yeah.
Well, personally, I would like it if the business owners could kind of police themselves a little bit and make sure that they tell their employees not to park on Broadway. I mean, when I worked at Beartooth Insurance and then Hub, I mean, if you parked in front of the Glass Rabbit, you got talking to. So, I mean, it just, and it's 4-hour parking all up and down Broadway and on the side streets. So literally you need to move your vehicle every 4 hours. You cannot leave it parked all day, although we don't necessarily enforce parking at the moment. But we used to, and you used to get a ticket if you parked for more than 4 hours.
Right.
So I don't know.
Right, and that's why I said I would bring it up here to see if it was something we even wanted to manage, if it was an issue, if it's something someone wants to take to the Business Alliance and see if they can help police their employees. I'm not sure.
And I did volunteer to take it to the Business Alliance and basically issue a request that the preference is that they self-police and then at that same time share that council may be looking at something if more is needed, but part of it was, is there an appetite to do it? I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads.
Well, I do agree that business owners should not park their advertising vehicle out on Broadway as an advertisement, whatever that may be, and take up valuable parking for people. I mean, I've tried to go downtown at times just to do business, and, if you have to walk 3 blocks away, it's kind of it's not fun. Not that I don't need to walk.
That's something else that's not covered by our current 4-hour regulation, but that could be something that council may consider. I do not foresee a unanimous vote in favor.
I mean, I just would like it if they would police themselves.
And that's just
it's just,
again,
don't be rude
try
about it.
and monitor that. How are you gonna keep track of which employee has which car? Like, it's ridiculous.
And?
Yeah. Like, it's one thing when it's literally plastered on the side of their vehicle being used for advertising. If that's the case, pretty easy to figure out who's being the.
Yes.
You've used up all your.
I've used them up this week, but you know what I was going to say. So again, end of the day, like, at a certain point, we gotta not go down that road. Sorry,
Go down what road? Of
over-regulating.
We don't
over-regulate.
over-regulate,
Okay. All right, I just wondered.
exactly. And like trying to create ordinances for the one person who's being God, it's really hard, you guys. Yeah, I need this a little deeper here. That'd be great. But it's really, you don't want to over-regulate for the one circumstance of bad actors. It's better to just be able to come to them and have a conversation with them as an adult.
Agreed.
Well, and I do think that with new business owners, I don't think that they understand that it's 4-hour parking downtown, and to please tell your employees not to park on Main Street.
Yeah, this
Period.
Easily.
I mean, and it just needs to be, to me, either the chamber or the Business Alliance reaching out to all the business owners downtown and just saying, please, we need the parking for our people who are shopping downtown.
Yeah, that's what it is. And again, because otherwise we're setting ourselves up for an ordinance that can't be actually.
Well, we have an ordinance, but we have an ordinance.
Yeah, I'm saying,
do,
like, if
for
we
4-hour parking.
decide to go pass that and say, oh, employers aren't allowed to park here, or
No.
it's a whole can of worms I don't
Well,
want to go
and
down.
who knows if I'm not on my lunch hour and I'm going to some business downtown.
Right.
Just because I have 10 plates doesn't mean I
Yeah.
don't get to park on Broadway, so.
Or, you know,
Parking
there's
for
sometimes
you.
I'm
I know.
unloading
You
stuff
don't
out
get
of my car to take into an office, and it's
Yeah.
just like, I don't necessarily,
Yeah.
like, move my car immediately. Sometimes it's,
I remember it being brought up to discussion, and I think I brought it up today too on our public health, and I remember, some of our bartenders and wait staff were a little concerned of having to move their car in the evenings, or
Yep.
having, to get off at a 2 a.m. shift and having to go to a back street alone to get to their car. So, I mean, again, I feel like we're all adults and business owners if it's brought up and if it's a discussion.
I personally feel no employees should be parking on Broadway, period. There's sides, I mean, it's.
I
don't think we
think
need a
if
law
I'm
for
counting,
it,
I think if
but-
I'm counting noses here, just to clarify, I'm gonna ask two questions. I think I do not see a majority of council in favor of adding additional regulations that says if you're an employee, you don't park in the business district. Is that correct reading?
Right.
a hard no.
Is there a discussion or an interest in making a regulation that says you do not park advertising vehicles on Broadway?
No.
As
Okay.
long as it's, I mean, you have
Within
4
the
hours.
4 hours.
4
Yeah.
hours.
Do what you want
You
to
got
do.
4 hours.
You want to be really.
There's also a such thing as negative advertising, so
Pardon? Yeah, is it negative advertising?
it'll self-reinforce.
You okay?
Yeah.
I think it will.
All right, Councilmember, Daniels, do you feel like you have the information you came to
Yeah,
request from
absolutely.
council?
Absolutely.
I just
Go ahead.
want to say one thing. I agree that, I'd like it taken to Chamber or Business Alliance, but the stickler in me really wants them to know, we know you're parking on Broadway,
Mhm.
because we all know your cars. And it pisses me off, sorry, but, a lot of times I won't go downtown or park downtown unless I can find a parking place. Well, you're taking the parking places.
Mhm.
So I would just like them to know that we're aware of this problem. And we're not gonna do anything else, but just make it aware, so,
Yeah.
anyway.
Write them a letter.
Councilmember Daniels, did you have anything else for this, for the full body?
No, we discussed, concerns with the trolley and, like, if there's any, like, safety regulations or anything of that nature, but other than that.
What were the concerns?
Ann, you wanna?
Sure.
On that one?
Absolutely. It brought to my attention on Thursday night at dinner that there's, this trolley had left a huge oil slick in front of their building on North Broadway? Yeah, North
Broadway.
Broadway. And so on my way home, I walked by this, and it was a huge car, the size of a car, oil. I took a picture of it, and I went to other places they park, and there's just a lot of oil. Then it passes me, it stinks. My concerns are, I am not the Chamber of Commerce, I am City Council. So, a lot of people love this trolley, but if it's not safe, we need to find out, what the smoke and, odor is and this oil leak. So that was my concern. And it's, when it passes you, you know it's here comes the trolley, because you smell it.
And I took an assignment to talk to the owners and then also the Chief Schrock to see if there are concerns. And as one of the points that was raised is vehicles that are carrying public, like trucks or kids and stuff, do have to do inspections and safety and stuff. And so the question is, as a commercial operation and a transport of people, is there something there that they need to maybe invest a little bit more money to help take care of that?
Yep. Okay. So,
Other than that was about it.
Okay.
Any other questions for public health and safety from the table?
Nope.
All right, hearing none, we will go to admin and finance, and for that, we will look to Committee Chair Ronning.
Okay. Well, we have, talked about, we brought up a little bit about the contact with the fire department. We're still not a lot of movement there. We're waiting on some legal opinions. on how we can do that. So kind of, as far as I know at this moment, kind of at a stopping place until we get more information. Is that correct?
I'd just like to add to that. So what the question is what does the resolution for council, what stipulations need to be included from the resolutions of council? For example, city owning the vehicles, and so basically coming up with an amendment to the contract that works for both the city and for the fire department. And those are basically changes based on the legal opinion we've received, so.
Okay. So we did talk about that. And then we reviewed the budget. And with that, we had a very rough draft of the general fund. Compared to last year, there's really not a lot of differences as far as the general fund goes. This budget that we currently have is based on the fact that the fire contract will be amended. So if that does not happen, then there will be some changes to this general fund budget, including some cuts. We have asked that even if we do not amend the general fund to have money taken out of resort tax, that we still amend it so that it's not 28 mills out of our general fund, but just a straight dollar amount with an inflationary guard
And
increase.
just to clarify, you said amend our general fund, but what you meant is amend the contract with the fire department.
No, we would amend, if
To get it to mills, that requires an amendment with the
No,
contract.
what I said was, what I meant to say was that if we do not take the 10% out of resort tax and we have to take the whole amount out of the general fund, this budget will be amended, will change.
Well, but you'd also talk there, and maybe I misunderstood what you're saying here, is there's still gonna be an effort to try to get them to switch to a non-mills based
Yes.
contract.
Yes, that's,
Okay.
I thought that's what I said.
It wasn't, that's why I was clarifying.
Thank you.
Because that's contract, not the budget.
I knew what you were saying.
Yeah, thank you.
I was also there.
You were also there, yes. I said, what I meant to say was that we have asked the mayor if, we do not go with money out of the resort tax to still amend the contract so that it is not mills-based. Thank you. So,
Any other question? Oh, go ahead.
we did have the resort tax, budget recommendations from the resort tax committee. And so, I think we do, as a council, also need to have some input into those recommendations, to the mayor.
And we're still a few months out from the final of that, but if there's any council feedback on what you saw tonight, that you want me to take into account, I'm welcome to take it now, or if you want to present that, share that with the, Admin and Finance Committee in the future, but yes, I'd like to present a budget that I have a high level of confidence will be accepted by council. The way you do that is you listen to council input up front. Nobody has any ideas now, but if you'll get those to Admin and Finance, we'll go ahead and take them.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Admin and Finance? All right, hearing none, we will go to Land Use and Planning, and for that, I will look to Committee Chair Tupin.
We were working on the process for designating or changing the use of city-owned land, made it through the policy, and are now getting into the actual application that Jeremy Fadness from WWC had drafted and put together. On a whole, really happy with what has been presented so far, and kind of streamlining it a little bit and thinking about how it's going to look actually in use. But it's really just kind of nice to have him there in the room discussing these things, telling us what he's seen in other positions, and just having that level of expertise is really useful. We've had good public input, and yeah, they've been fun meetings, honestly. Very happy meetings. Very thorough.
Yay.
Very thorough. Yeah, no, literally every word, because that's who I am as a human. So, sorry in advance.
Any other questions or comments for Land Use and Planning? Did I give you did you get a chance to discuss everything you wanted to discuss?
That's it.
All right. We will go ahead and wrap up with Public Works, and for that, I will go to Committee Chair Ronnie.
So, we talked a little bit about what we already, voted on, which was the solid waste, ordinance. And then, the rest of the meeting was pretty much just an update from the Public Works Director. And he just did a great overview of the water projects, the future sewer projects. That is, the bid's been awarded, but they don't have a startup date yet. The streets project. So there's a lot going on, as everybody knows, in town. And as the mayor said, they will be taking a pause over the 4th of July so that we don't have streets closed all over the place. And then for parks, he just said they're wrapping up the end of the year stuff, and that they helped out this golf by putting in baskets. And pool, he said everything's going great. We just need some warmer weather for people. Resort tax presentation was tonight, and as you saw, there were several items that requests from Public Works that Mike would like to continue, especially the sidewalk incentive program, parks budget items. He was okay with the $85,000 on that, and he has some specific projects in mind for that money, including a geotech study and the environmental assessment for the O'Neill Trail. And he's really excited about the roundabout beautification project. He primarily wants to rebuild the sprinkler system and contract with someone to help take care of it down there. Eventually, he would love to put stamped concrete down there and not have to deal with it anymore, but that's about a $500,000 project or more to put stamped concrete in the boulevards.
In the boulevards. I was
Yeah,
thinking in the center.
yeah, and in the center. So,
That's too bad.
it's not going to happen anytime soon. The street completion fund, he was very excited about having that extra money so he can finish paving in some of these places where the streets get torn up so bad. And the parks pickup, the Grizzly screen and shaker, all of that stuff. He's really, we're kind of at the top of his list of things that he would like. So, and that was about it. Anything else that I missed?
I will just add, as it ties into the resort tax budget and stuff, as I sit down and look at the budget, and particularly when it comes to the resort tax, I have no issues with using resort tax for what I'll call, we've had several times the cake versus the frosting discussion. I have zero problem with using some of that resort tax for the cake, meaning infrastructure, public health and safety stuff, to the extent that it can help having to ask for even more money from the taxpayers for that. I think that's one of the benefits we have of a resort tax committee. So I'm inclined to make sure that we've taken care of the requirements. And if you go right down the list, I've had a ranking that hasn't really changed over the last 3 years. Sewer, number one, when it goes away, it needs to stay away. Water, trash, police, fire. There are several of those priorities are there. And so as we do the budget, I think you're going to see that that's the stuff that's addressed. I like the niceties that make our community, the parks, and the amenities and stuff that we have, but we've also got to take care of the basic needs first. And I think you'll see that as the budget comes out, and I hope that I have your support in that. Councilmember Rood.
I would like to say that I am a recipient of the water project, and they'll never finish because there's another part they have to go into my house. But I enjoyed it in a weird way. I enjoyed it. I was there watching them all the time. They did a great job. They're nice guys.
Did they enjoy that?
Yeah, and we had a few laughs. But I just want to say that I'm, as being on Public Works, I'm glad I got to experience it for a week. They were in front of my house for a week, and I just thought it helped me appreciate what Public Works is all about. So that's it.
Thank you. Any other comments on the table? Just as we're going through that note, that this isn't a complete list, but if you live on 19th, 16th, 11th, or 9th, those are streets that all should be paved by the end of the week. There was a few more than that, and I'll look to get that list from Mike, and we'll get that posted online so you can look it up on a per street basis. Any other questions for Public Works from the table? All right, hearing none, let me just pause for a last ask of the table. We have specifically added to the agenda an opportunity for council to bring anything up that they would like to have council consider and take up for action in the future. I'll start down on this end of the table with Councilmember Daniels. Anything? Battles?
I do not.
Ronnie?
Not right now.
Rude?
I'm okay right now.
Okay, thank you. Tupin?
Yeah.
Okay, and part of that is to help give council that comfort that there will always be an opportunity. Lonnie?
I'm not a council member, but, at the next meeting, we'll have to do a bond resolution for the water rehab project. I just got that this afternoon, to look over, but it'll need to be up for action at the July.
Do you know what the deadline is? Is it something we need to work into an earlier meeting? Or is it,
No,
okay.
the July
It's
13th
sufficient.
is fine, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But it's not, since it hasn't been on the agenda, it's gonna have the
A little star next to it. So this is your heads up that we've got something coming through that for the bond work on that.
It's the bond resolution for what?
The water rehab project, the next one,
And where's that one at?
I'm not sure. That's
That is, I want to say, south end of town. This is getting rid of cast iron and
Right.
everybody in town's gonna have to
This
start taking an iron pill because they're no longer going to be getting it from
isn't
the
the one
water
that
sources.
loops in Park, is it?
You'll
We're
know
on
when
that one
men
already.
start huddling around your house.
It what?
You'll know when men start huddling around your house.
There you go.
Start looking at it with.
That was my first
right.
clue.
Bunch of orange.
Thank you for that heads up, so it'll be a little less of a surprise for the public and for everybody here at the table. All right, correspondence. Any correspondence from that? There's several correspondence in the packet that were included there. Anything not in the packet or anything that requires a special commentary?
I just did want to follow up on water up at the golf course with those irrigation ditches. Was that something that Mike was able to discuss with the county?
I do not have an answer for that. I apologize.
Okay.
I will take that on my action item. Let me go make a note.
And the only other thing, and this is more for my own personal clarification or just a better understanding for sharing with people when they ask, downtown over the 4th during the parades, what is the policies for marking your territory, if you will, with lawn chairs?
First come, first served.
First come, first served, but like, what's your timeline? I don't want to start seeing chairs out front in a week. Like, when is that permitted? It'd just be good to know because.
We have a no camping ordinance, so it
Yeah, you
won't be
can't sleep
overnight.
there. No, most people do it first thing in the morning.
Okay.
I think my father-in-law used to go down at 6 a.m.
And just out on the sidewalk, what about the parking spaces? When people start to flood.
Well, once
into
it's closed at 10,
Close it, you know.
Yeah, wow.
Oh,
It's been a year, actually. to
They
be
can't
honest.
have, they start like they ask you to not
10,
park.
yeah, 10 to 2 is no parking, and they will have signs out then. So once there's no vehicle there, then I guess you can put your chair there
Okay.
if you want. I mean,
I'll
that's
just
what
park
people,
my car there
there's
with the sign on the
no,
side and
yeah, there's no actual
Safe
rule.
for children.
Pay for Chelsea.
To
Yeah,
my knowledge,
advertising my spots.
to my knowledge, council has not passed any ordinances dictating yet the travel. So at this point, we'll just put Councilmember Root in charge of monitoring that.
Well, sell seats.
I would love that
Sell
job.
seats to pay for sidewalks.
All right. Any other further correspondence before we go to public comment? Go ahead.
I did
Councilmember.
get I think everybody else did too, the email from Betsy, that she had sent to the Parks Board, and I'll forward it on to you. I haven't
Yeah, if you've
done that
received
yet.
anything that wasn't in the packet, please make sure you forward that on to Lonnie for inclusion in the future.
She sent it to everybody, so I didn't want to inundate. You haven't received it yet, though? Okay, I'll forward it to you.
All right, last call for correspondence at the table?
Mm-mm.
All right, we will go ahead and go to public comment. This is again the opportunity for the public to address the council on anything within the council's purview. The rules are there. The timer is ready. Go ahead and we'll count that as opening public comment. Looking first to the room. Seeing nobody jumping up in the room, I'm looking online. Public comment going once, twice, 3 times. No public comment. All right, we'll go ahead and close public comment. And with the agenda completed, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
See you in 3 weeks.
Bye.